So Gus, Clive, good to see you again, albeit with a different jumper on.
Yes.
So Dynafit are a brand I'm excited about, not least because we haven't worked together before, but also because I, like many people throughout the weird year that 2020 and 2021 have been, have done more running than I have in most years because of the fact that for half of it, that's all we kind of could do, really. So it seems appropriate to give a bit of an intro to a few products within the range. But I think, Clive, you were going to give a bit of an intro to the brand as well, just for those who are less familiar.
Well, just because, again, Dynafit's a company and a brand that's been around for a very long time. And anyone that's had anything to do with ski mountaineering over the years, that will be a brand name that they're familiar with. I mean, they're synonymous with bindings, with boots and skis. And we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. But in recent years, they've very much got into running as well, mountain running. So you've got a tight collection of clothing and shoes that's basically everything from hard trail through to pretty muddy, the stuff that'll work on the fells around here as well. So it's an interesting area, and obviously it's an area that's growing for sure. So it's successfully working for them. And I think we're going to look at the shoes first, Gus.
Yes, yeah. Well, we'll take a lean to the shoes first because, as we've all kind of said a couple of times here, the disappointing part was most of them came out at the start of spring 20. A few key dealers took them on as kind of an opening round, and it was kind of their prowess that saw them enter the market, as opposed to us being able to kind of sing and shout about them as much as we'd like. So here we are kind of again, a year on. There's been some good successes, and the general uptake of the products have been really good. And they present themselves as a really nice collection.
So the thing that interests me is exactly what Clive said there, where like these have the credentials to take you into the British mountains, because often there's the way of like, if you live in the Alps and you run on all these perfectly manicured trails,
yes,
you would go to the Lake District and have some form of panic attack to see some of the terrain that you potentially are going to have to be crossing. So yeah, kick us off. I know you've got 3 to show us. So, yeah. And I know that they complement each other as well. So it'd be cool to see about those.
Okay. Well, starting off with something fairly familiar. We'll go straight to the soul of the issue, is grippiness. So muddy, clarty, wet, whatever you want to call it. There's quite a few shoes out there which have the caliber associated with clawing their way through mud. Play on words there. Typically something like this is a welcome sight. Nice, grippy, lugged. Chevron lugs enable you to plow uphill and give you the claws that you need. The name of the shoe, Feline SL, hopefully gives you some idea. Dynafit take great pride in their association with the Snow Leopard Trust. That kind of feline-esque mentality bleeds its way into a lot of their shoes. So what you get with this is you get your claws, you get an 8mm drop. So I know drop is obviously important to a lot of people these days. What is that differential between your forefoot and your heel? But actually, unlike a lot of running shoes, you get quite a firm midsole here. So it's one thing to have a nice plush, very soft midsole, but if you've got something that's a little bit firmer, it's actually going to give you more of that all-day comfort. So, and also when you come on that mud, you've got kind of your wobbly terrain, and what you then don't want to feel is kind of an insecurity in the midsole. So you want to feel as contacted with the ground as possible. So what you get here is a nice firm shoe, good band on the heel. So if you can see this heel preloader that we have here, this actually tucks the heel right into the back of the foot when you're running. So it's kind of that's going to give you that fit basically on the heel to enable your forefoot to expand naturally through running.
Interesting blend there. So yeah, again, it's got like enough sort of support to like for all day running on trails, but then it also has the grip to go off piste and onto sort of rougher terrain as well. Well, yeah. With the uppers there as well, the lacing, tell us more about that, because that looks cool.
So the lacing is hidden behind this pocket effectively. And what this is designed to do is act as a little bit of a gaiter to stop, mud and debris getting into the shoe. Now, being in the UK, none of us are unfamiliar to the liquid rain and puddles and that kind of terrain you find in the hills, not just the mountains and on a trail. So there's no getting away from the fact that occasionally you'll get wet feet. And there is an argument to say that whilst Gore-Tex is the wonder fabric that stops your foot getting wet, when water's in a kind of a Gore-Tex bag, effectively getting it out can often be the issue. So in this particular case, drainage is key. You won't be able to see it on the camera, but the material is sufficiently perforated that you're going to get proper protection, but also you're going to get that drainage effect. So that water is going to fall out the shoe. So what this pocket does is it's not waterproof, it's a debrigator, and enables you to put the pull cord lacing down the length of it. So you can tuck it away and stop it from snagging you and slipping it on something. So that's the story behind the upper there.
Well, I certainly know that, Clive has done his Bob Graham. Gus, I know you've done a lot of running yourself. I mean, when I go out these days, it's very infrequent that I expect dry feet at any point throughout the run. So what's the next you've got just there then?
So, sorry, I'm just picking up the men's version. So you've got men's and women's of the Feline SL. And then the next shoe, which was out last year, which again lost its ability to be talked about, was the Ultra 100. So going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, away from having hugely grippy teeth, very muddy, very off-road, very challenging terrain. Going straight to the sole again, you've got quite a shallow tread depth here, but with a very high cambered shoe. So if your bridleways, footpaths, trails, so, a very kind of a Euro idea is this well-manicured limestone path style trail, but where it's sufficiently uniform that you're not having to grip into very nasty, muddy terrain, it could be that you can start utilizing more of your muscles. So you're not tapping on in the tips of your toes, you're not dancing between features, you can really plant that heel in to start with and roll through the gait of your roll through your stride, basically. Use more muscles, use less energy, keep yourself going for a longer period of time. So it's not just about the features of the shoe, it's thinking about the kind of the end user and someone who's going to want all day use.
This looks like the ultra running beast, basically. And I know from where I live, so I'm based in Bamford in the Peak District, for those that don't know. And that's not showing off either, although it is great. But I've got all sorts of differing running from my doorstep. So I've got things like Win Hill or Bamford Edge, which are really rough and wet, which you'd use the first shoe that you took us through. Yeah. This particular shoe you've got, we also have an old railway that's now converted into a cycle track that is exactly the sort of thing that it would be well suited towards this. It's where you can I can run for probably the best part of 20 miles along that and around the Lady Bow Reservoir, and that would be the sort of shoe I'd be really keen to give a go at.
So yeah, where you've got your trails and your paths, and it's not as muddy, not as challenging. So bridleway, for example, quite shallow tread depth, that banana camber, big stack, so cushioning, protecting those joints over a long run, long day. There's a lot of time in your feet. There's a lot of force going through those knees, hips, and ankles. So it's just taking the shock out of that. And we've got the familiar gaiter on the top where the laces can be tucked in using proper lacing this time. Reason being that obviously if you need to customize that fit a little bit more than the speed lacing, you're locked in there all day and you need to customize that to fit the top of your foot better. So a really good shoe for long distance use. Obviously we're kind of in that interchange between winter and summer. So when the ground is hard and it's not as slushy, actually having that finer tread depth and that squishy, comfortable midsole, can be more advantageous than going for claws necessarily.
And I know that you've got a third lurking in the wings as well. Or do you want to show us the men's and women's before we move on?
So I don't know if I said the name earlier, but this is the Ultra 100. So yeah, as all in the name, those long days, those long runs.
So I know that the third, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm just excited, but you've obviously taken us through Fell Beast, Ultra Beast, and this beast.
Next beast. So the Alpine, as he is named. Somewhere kind of in the middle, basically. So starting with the sole again, what we've got here are those semi-familiar chevron-shaped tread pattern at the moment. So still quite a flat profile. So if you're looking at it side on, you see there's not like pronounced lugs, indicating that if you hit varying terrain, you've got a mixed grip. It's a fairly uniform grip. And then you move on to the chevrons. It's not an overly cambered profile. It's actually quite flat with more flex at the toe. So someone suited to, say, a faster pace, someone suited to varying terrain as opposed to just being flat and uniform, or very clarty, muddy or technical terrain. So a very light shoe. I know I can't give that to you to try it out here, but it's just over 300 grams, so relatively light. Toe bumper is going to give you some protection when you're running. Broad toe box as well, so it is still suited to somebody who wants that foot splay and is going for those longer runs. And we've got this heel counter as well, so it's really going to grip that heel into the back of the shoe. And quite a soft midsole material. So whereas the first shoe, the Feline SL, is quite a firm material, and the Ultra 100, it's a high stack and quite cushioned, this is somewhere in the middle again. So somebody suited to kind of a faster shoe, a lighter shoe, and something they can tackle varying terrains on. So it is straight down the middle.
What was the drop on these as well?
Sorry, so 6 mil for the Alpines.
6 mil. You may have said that, but we've covered a lot of things within a lot of shoes. So
yeah, keep all the details. So they're neat shoes. I think they'll be a nice addition to the market, and they'll complement the other two as well. So someone who doesn't want to play at kind of either end of that spectrum, straight in the middle with this guy.
Well, they look really interesting, and I don't just say that because I'm hopefully the one in line to review them sometime throughout 2021. But yeah, I'm interested to give each of those a go, because as you say, they each offer something, kind of 3 really distinct categories, which is nice.
Yeah. No, and hopefully that's what going to people say. I mean, I know if people like the trainers, they want to buy multiple pairs, so there's definitely a reason to come back for the others. But if you are, choosing your weapon of choice for your outing, hopefully there's something there for every or most eventualities.
Great, thanks a lot, Gus. Thanks a lot, Clive. That was perfect. Thanks.